What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Footy Review. We're about talking footy. If you're new to the show, I'm your host, Vic, and this is my co-host, brother Fernando. And we got a great show for you guys today. The Premier League is kicking off on Friday, by far the most popular league in the world. And we love to watch the Premier League, obviously. Fern, what are your thoughts with the upcoming Premier League season?
I think it's going to be exciting. As you just said, it's the most popular league in the world. So there's always a lot to expect, a lot of hopes to be broken, a lot of hopes to be filled. And the Premier League, it looks like it's going to be competitive this year. You know, with the transfers that have been going on and the new players coming in, some have been in the Premier League before, some haven't. I think it's going to be exciting. But that being said, I do think that there may be two, three, or four big names that will be expected to come away with the title.
In my opinion, let's be being realistic. I think there are three teams with a title shot this season, and it's Man City, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Manchester United is kind of always in the top four, but I don't really see them breaking through and being a legit title contender. Definitely a top four team, but I don't know. I kind of feel like with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, their managers, their play style, he's kind of like antiquated. He's not really he doesn't deliver the goods in the way that Thomas Tuchel has Chelsea running, or the way that Guardiola has Man City running, or the way that Klopp has Liverpool running. So for my money's worth, there are three teams with a title shot. Man City, obviously the huge favorites based on the fact that they won the Premier League last season, and they always have the deepest squad in the league. But I mean, at the end of the season, especially when Tuchel came in charge of Chelsea, I mean, they switched around really fast and became a really good team.
Yeah.
And then they went on to win the Champions League last season as well. And I don't see them slowing down this year, especially there are a lot of speculation that someone like Lukaku is about to come in. So imagine you add that to their already potent attacking players.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. What I will say though is that I wouldn't count Man United out just yet. Like you said, they're always in the top four. They're always in the running. And, there are still rumors about players coming into Man United. There's rumors about a player like Varane coming in. And the reason I bring up Varane is because the criticism for Man United has always been their defense. So, they have the attack power up top. They score goals, but their defense is kind of a little bit lackluster a lot of the time. So if you bring someone like Varane in, and then they brought in Wan-Bissaka last year, and he did a great job. And Luke Shaw seems to have gotten past his injury woes. So, and he's grown a lot as a player, and he even started a few games for England this summer. So if that backline can stay healthy and they bring someone like Varane in, maybe they hold up. And then, there's always the competition there in that goalkeeper spot. De Gea has made a lot of blunders in the last few years, but De Gea is letting you down. Maybe bring someone in like Dean Henderson, and, he can stop some shots. And if that defense can hold up, I don't think you can count Man United out.
Other than defensive weakness, one of the other complaints for Man U had been kind of a lack of identity.
That's true.
Manchester United fans that have been fans, for a long time, kind of in the Manchester United heyday under Sir Alex Ferguson, where it seemed like no matter what group of players that he had, Manchester United was always competitive in every competition. And especially in the days, of like Cristiano Ronaldo, where it was just a beautiful style of soccer. Ever since Alex Ferguson left, Manchester United has never fully recovered an identity,
Yeah.
something that they put on the field and you say, I know this is Manchester United. And I think Solskjaer kind of brought a little bit of stability, but they're not, he hasn't brought, that killer cutting edge back to Man U that they used to have. And they do have good players on the offense, like Cavani. I personally, I know a lot of people thought Cavani was a bad signing for Manchester United. I always supported the signing because Cavani is kind of just a pure number 9, and you have you have other creative players on the team, especially when Bruno Fernandes came on, Paul Pogba on the team, Marcus Rashford that can put in those runs down the wing. So I feel like Cavani has given them a little bit of that cutting edge. And if they can improve on the defense, like you said, if Varane does come in, that would be a huge signing for Manchester United. I also really like Scott McTominay in the middle. I think he's a very solid defensive workhorse player. So maybe they can bring some grit back. But I just think Man City and Chelsea have already a clear established, play style, clear idea. And Liverpool, it's kind of hard to say because last season was pretty much an anomaly for them because Van Dijk went down so early in the season. They had a lot of injury issues. And I mean, their form just wasn't there. But if you go to the season before that, it was clear what Liverpool is and what they do. And when they do it, they're one of the best teams in Europe. Those three teams, on the basis of having a more clear identity, will go further than Manchester United.
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you. And what I will say when it comes to Manchester United, and this goes to your point about crediting Alex Ferguson. Alex Ferguson did so much for that club with players that you wouldn't think are championship caliber players. So yeah, absolutely. That being said, you mentioned Cavani. I agree. I thought he was going to be a bust at United, and he proved me wrong. So hats off to him. But at the same time, they don't really have that much depth in that striker spot. Sure, they have Marcus Rashford, who technically is a striker, but they deploy him on the wing a lot, and same with Martial, who again is technically a striker, but they deploy him on the wing. So I think that after a few years of not playing in their preferred position, maybe they've gotten accustomed to playing on the wings. But I do have to agree with you, especially when it comes to Liverpool, like that last year was an anomaly because when you see how they played when they're a healthy team and all put together, they look almost unbeatable. I mean, they won the Premier League, got to the Champions League final. They lost that year, but then the next year they came right back and won the Champions League. So if Liverpool can stay healthy and pull it all together, I think that they will be the number one competitor for Man City. That being said, Man City, I don't know if Grealish was the best signing for them, but adding him to the squad, it doesn't hurt. So I think that he adds to their chances of competing, and we'll see what happens. But I do think it'll be a race between Man City and Liverpool.
Liverpool towards the end of last season started showing signs of life again, especially because they barely made the top four last season. I mean, if you remember those closing 10 weeks, Leicester was in the top four until the very end, and the teams that would have missed out would have been Chelsea and Liverpool. So I mean, Liverpool towards the end of the season started showing with the urgency that they had to qualify for Champions League. Right. They started kind of looking a little bit more like Liverpool. The only thing that I would say, I think Chelsea has surpassed Liverpool under Tuchel because for me, my top in the order of the top four that it's going to finish, I would say favorites to win is number 1, Man City, number 2, Chelsea, number 3, Liverpool, and number 4, Manchester United. I think under Tuchel, Chelsea has really come together, and then I think the Lukaku deal is almost a done deal. I'm just thinking that, and Chelsea has had some of the best defense over the last season as well. So then add Lukaku on top of that. I think that puts Chelsea right up there above Liverpool.
I don't fully disagree with you, but what I will say is that, as you said, when it comes to Chelsea, they're a young squad. Yes, they're clicking, they're learning to play together, and they do have chemistry. But at the same time, I think it's going to take 1, 2, maybe even 3 more years before they are a fully combined, fully chemistry team that will be able to consistently give you the results you need. Because Chelsea, as much as they've improved, and Thomas Tuchel is obviously an incredible improvement to that club's management style, I think that because a lot of their players are so young, they do often deliver some inconsistent performances as the season goes on. And we have to keep in mind that the season is 36 weeks long, and that's just the Premier League. You have other competitions like the domestic trophy and then Champions League, where a lot of players, they're going to be pushed to their limits. And I think that when it comes to young teams, I think it's good to push them, but at the same time, I don't think you can expect the most consistent results as you would from maybe a more veteran squad. And I don't mean in their 30s, but like 27, 28, 29 when they are in their primes. So I think that if Chelsea can deliver consistent performances, I don't disagree with you. Do I think they will for the entire season? I'm not so sure.
Chelsea are young, but they're also battle tested. I mean, they
I
just
mean, yeah,
won.
they won the Champions League. So
They just won the Champions League.
yeah, so I'm not saying that they can't, but the Champions League is also a little different. It's not every game in the Champions League is do or die, and that includes the group stage.
But
Yes,
it's
you go against
but I think also the fact the Champions League is much shorter. There's less games, so
exactly.
but here would be my counterpoint is that while Chelsea was tearing it up in the Champions League, they were also tearing it up in the league. Like as
Sure.
soon as Tuchel came, they did not only improve only in Champions League. They went like on a multi like I don't know 10, 11, 12 game run where they were winning like all their games towards in the last stretch of the season. And that's what they needed to get into the top four. Because remember, under Frank Lampard, the team was kind of in shambles, really. And
Sure. But
so
I also think that that does just tend to happen when you bring in a new manager. The team has a different attitude. Especially if you bring in someone like Thomas Tuchel, who has had a pretty good track record over the last few years. So I'm not disagreeing with you entirely, but what I will say is that a lot of times when players give up on a certain manager, they kind of stop trying, not as hard. They don't play as hard. And when a new manager comes in, it kind of rejuvenates the energy that they have. I think that maybe some of that spark is due to some of the players being a little bit tired of Lampard and very welcoming to a new management style, regardless of who it was. They were lucky in getting Tuchel, and he's a great coach, and he did change the play style of Chelsea. But at the same time, I think that, we'll see if that continues going on this season. And I think what will prove the point is if they can be consistent, not only in the league, but also in Champions League and then also in the domestic cups.
I think they will. And I mean, they have the depth to do it. They have a lot of pieces they can rotate in and out, which will help them. A team that I think is lacking a little bit, maybe in depth, is Liverpool, who we talked
Yes.
about as one of our other top four contenders. Liverpool, I mean, when they have their starting 11 all on the same page, not last season, but the season before that, it was really terrifying to watch if you're like a fan of the opposing team because they really are very efficient with the high press and they get down the field very quickly and they strangle teams until they crack essentially, or at least that's what they used to do under Klopp.
Right. And what I will say, just a quick counterpoint, is that yes, I agree with you, but you have to consider that Liverpool, they really haven't brought in many new players over the last 2, 3, 4 years. So a
that
lot of
was
these
going that was
players,
going to be my point. Yeah.
right. So over the last few years, yes, these players were used to doing the high press. As soon as you lose the ball, you flood the ball, try to get it back. But these players are getting older. So as they get older, the stamina is not going to be there. The physicality is not going to be there. So we'll see if they can keep it up for 36 weeks.
And that was going to be my next point is that I mean like Man City, Chelsea, and Manchester United certainly have been busy over the last few years in the transfer market. Of the four teams, Liverpool is the team mostly relying on old players. I think they brought in Kunate as the center back for Liverpool, but other than that, when you're talking about the attacking trio, I mean they brought in Diogo Jota last season as well, kind of out of necessity. But I think it's going to still be Salah, Mane, and Firmino. They looked a little bit stale last season. I think it was just a down year for them, and they'll be back. But my one criticism of Liverpool is that they're not as deep as the other four teams contending for the Premier League. And we saw how last season that team is extremely dependent on Van Dijk, and when one of their main center backs goes down, they really are going to have a rough time. So that is the reason why I said, in my opinion, Chelsea has surpassed Liverpool to get to be the second best team in
How
England.
deep is Chelsea? Today was the UEFA Super League Cup. So the lineup, it was Chelsea versus Villarreal, and the lineup was Zuma, Rudiger, and Chaloba, who we don't usually see in the squad. In the back, it was 3-4-2-1, and then in the midfield, it was Conte, Kovacic, Alonso, and Hudson Odoi, and then two attacking mids, Havertz, Ziyech, and then Werner up top. The ones that came on during the game were Pulisic, Christensen, Jorginho, Mao, and Aspilicueta. And then the ones that remained on the bench were Chilwell, Emerson, James, Silva, Loftus-Cheek, and Abraham. So just going off of those names, most of your starters started. And then the ones that maybe will start during the season that came on as subs are maybe Mount and Pulisic and maybe Jorginho, but that's about it. So I don't know if you could consider that the deepest squad in the Premier League. I think that sure they're a little deeper than Liverpool, but when you compare them to a team like Man City, it's not even close.
Man City is by far the deepest team. I'm saying that Tuchel is a guy who has players that he can rotate in pretty much every position. He kind of has already galvanized them last season by winning the Champions League. All the players have bought in and they're young and hungry. And even a lot of the Chelsea players even did, were involved in very high intensity games over the summer as well. Like Christian, probably most people don't watch the CONCACAF like we do, but Christian Pulisic played against Mexico in the CONCACAF Nations League. Mason Mount, England went all the way to the final. Jorginho was also involved in that. Emerson as well. Players are young, but they're battle tested, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's not a young team that is like brand new. I mean, I think these players have matured a lot over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, we'll see. And I hope that Chelsea does well, especially because Captain America's on that team. So I want him to do well. I wish him the best always. I don't fully disagree with you. I just think it's going to be a matter of consistency. And I think that tends to be something that comes with a little bit more experience. So we'll see. And I think that obviously we both think that Man City are probably the favorites because they're the deepest and they have a good mix of young and old and experience. So,
yep, that's good segue. So we kind of went into Man U, Liverpool, and Chelsea. So for Man City, the expectations are going to be high going into the season, not only Premier League, but Champions League as well. We're talking about Premier League right now. So for Man City, is it a win the Premier League or the season is a fail?
Well, I think the expectation is for them to win the Premier League. I think that's always the goal of a team like Man City. Man City has won the Premier League, 3 times, 4 times under Pep. It's not sure. Congrats if you win it. Like, I'm not taking that away. But if you are a team like Man City, your goal should be the Champions League. So I don't know if winning the Premier League is a success or a failure. I don't think losing it is the biggest failure in the world. But what you want to do is win the Champions League if you're Man City.
I think the expectation for Man City at this point is that they're going to win the Premier League, which is crazy to think because, for example, Bayern in Germany, there was an expectation for a long time. Bayern is going to win the league every year. Same with Juve in Italy over the last few years. It's crazy to think that something like that could happen in the Premier League. But if there is one team that has reached that pinnacle of just dominance in England, it is Manchester City. And like you said, I mean, not to go too much on a Champions League tangent, but I agree that Man City's main goal is the Champions League. And that became harder now with Messi at PSG because PSG's main goal is also the Champions League. But imagine something seems to always go wrong for Guardiola in the Champions League. Like since he left Barcelona, he hasn't won a single Champions League. So the pressure mounts on him every season. Every season, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And the likelihood, no matter who you are, the likelihood of winning the Champions League is extremely difficult. So imagine they go through a full season, don't win the Champions League, don't win the Premier League, and they don't win anything. That's a huge failure for Man City. So that's why I'm saying, from Man City perspective, the Premier League, I mean, they're held to such a high standard. They have internally, they feel like they have to win the Premier League.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you on that one. Yeah, I think that the bare minimum for Man City should be the league as a goal. As we both said, Champions League is the ultimate goal. But yeah, I think that, fair enough. If they don't win the Premier League, and they don't win the Champions League, then yes, the season would be a failure. I think if they don't win the Premier League, but they do somehow pull out the Champions League, I think that, they can give themselves a pat on the back and, you deserve all the credit that comes with it. That's what Chelsea did last season. And, we all celebrated Chelsea for that. So they didn't win the league, but, they won the more prestigious trophy. So good for them. And I think that, if Man City gives up the league, then they have to win the Champions League. But the bare minimum for Man City should be the Premier League. I agree.
We've touched on all the big 4 teams. Let's look at some odds, some futures odds for the Premier League right now. Let's see what Vegas is saying in terms of who's going to win the Premier League. Okay, so here you have it. As of August 10th, 2021, up here, these are the odds on VegasInsider.com. Fernando and I have talked about VegasInsider.com in previous videos. We like to come here to look at odds and all that kind of stuff. But here, I mean, Man City is a clear favorite, minus 150. So these bets are pretty much exactly in line with what we were talking about. We had Man City clearly as number one. Chelsea, Liverpool fighting for number 2 and 3. I think it could go either way. And then Man U as number 4. And then after that, huge drop off. I don't even know why Tottenham is number 5th. I think
Leicester City should be above Tottenham, to be honest.
I would definitely put Leicester above Tottenham. I might even put West Ham above Tottenham. But
you put West Ham above Tottenham?
I mean, looking at last season's performance, I mean, Leicester and West Ham finished 5th and 6th. So, and Tottenham fell way off. But anyway, so here are the futures bets based on VegasInsider.com. Fern, would you care to lock in your pick to win the Premier League?
I'm not going to go with the easy pick of Man City. I'm going to go with Chelsea.
That's what I was going to pick too. I'm locking in Chelsea at plus 500 to win the Premier League.
Cool. And we didn't talk about this beforehand, so this is just an organic pick on both of our parts. So
this is live.
Yeah, this is live. We'll do it live.
Man City, you know how it goes. Like with great teams,
yeah,
they're great, but they always at some point run up against a wall where there's something that's going on that they can't overcome. It's hard to maintain that level of excellence for such a long period of time.
Right. And sure, they've brought in some new players, but at the same time, I think the core of the squad is kind of what it's been for the last few years. And after a certain amount of time with the same play style, management style, and the same results, because again, Man City's goal is the Champions League. They haven't accomplished that yet. And with the players getting older, sometimes you kind of see the passion wear down. I mean, it happened with Tottenham, with Pochettino, when Pochettino had been there for so long, and he's known as a very harsh coach. Like he works the players, and he didn't make that many transfers over his tenure at Tottenham. And after a certain amount of time, after that Champions League defeat, it kind of just went all down the drain. And I think that I'm not saying that's what's happening to City, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them kind of go the same route after so many seasons with the same core players.
I just feel like, I mean, Man City recently lost the Community Shield to Leicester. Obviously, that's a preseason game, and not all the players are on the field. But there's just something about Manchester City that, I mean, in terms, if you want consistent performances like over an entire season, you can certainly get that. But when it comes down to the high pressure moments, sometimes they just leave a little bit to be desired and overthinks things a little bit, as opposed to Chelsea, which is a team that is very much on the up and up. They emerged last season as the kings of Europe. And I mean, it's been such a short window that Tuchel has been there. Remember, he took over halfway through the season. So I feel like there will just be so much hunger and motivation for this Chelsea team. And I think they're the best bet to pull it off if it's not going to be Man City.
Can't disagree.
Yes, sir. There you have it. Well, that was it for our Premier League intro video. We'll definitely be keeping up with the Premier League and let you guys know our thoughts and our analysis moving into the season. And if you like this content, please share, subscribe, like this video, show it to a friend, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.